Hello, my name is Price Van Ray. I'm a divorced single dad raising 5 kids, and welcome to my show. You like that? Like a sinister laugh in there. So, I'm going to, first I'm going to say it's a beautiful day out. And you can't beat a day like today, or the day we had. Some people like it really sunny. But I'll be honest with you, I like it a little bit dreary. I like it when it rains. I mean, I like it when it's hot and warm too. But, you know, when you get a day where it's a little tired, sleep, where it's a little damp, it's raining, you can hear it, and you take a nap and you can sleep. No, that's a cool day, you know. I remember years ago when my kids were little, we went to the beach, and it started raining. But we were under the umbrella, and I didn't mind it. It was so warm. And you're at the beach. You're getting wet anyways, all right? So what's the big deal? I mean, you know, a couple of my kids wanted the sun to be out because they wanted to get the sun beat down on them. They wanted to do the water thing. And I said, hey, you're already wet. Just get in the water. You know, you don't have to, you know, you're going to be wet anyways. Just keep your towels under the blanket so they're dry. So we'd have to keep driving back to the hotel. And I think then the hotel was about 2 miles away. So when we left, we had to leave and then come back, and you'd have to pay again for a meter. So not good when you got to go back and forth. But it is better when you can actually get a place on the beach. And not that I endorse anybody, but I go to Hamden Beach, and there's this place called the Sands. And it's about a block away from the beach. Beautiful, clean rooms. It's great. And the price is right. I mean, I'll tell you, it's a lot cheaper than the ones we were staying at 2 miles away. And it was just nice. It was like a little apartment. It was great. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It was perfect. So, anyways, today, I wanted to talk about, or tonight, I'm doing this at night right now, just telling you how the day was. We should be very careful with our children. You know, there are toxic things parents can say to kids that can hurt them. You know, sorry about that. I got to get more sleep. You know, my kids are keeping me up, and they're grown. They're grown. So, you know, we don't think some of the things we say can be harmful to our kids, but in reality, a lot of things can. You know, toxic parents verbally and emotionally can abuse their children and impose high expectations and excessive demands and behave in ways that cause guilt and fear or obligation to their children. Now, having a bad day doesn't make a parent bad. I mean, everybody has a bad day. You'll come home from work, you're not feeling good. You don't want to take it out on your kid, though. But, I mean, unlike normal parenting behavior, toxic parenting involves a pattern of behavior that have a negative impact on a child's development. And we want to make sure that the development of our children are good. You don't want a kid to grow up being a jerk, being overly aggressive, being hard-headed, mean, not listening, screaming. You know, these are traits you don't want. You want to make sure your child, you know, their behavior is normal. Because I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of adults and they don't behave normal. They behave crazy. I mean, it's insane. It's disgusting. It is disgusting the way some of these, well, they're not even parents. I don't even think they have kids. Thank God some of these people I know don't have kids, because if they did, oh my God, it would be insane. Can you imagine that? Insane. These crazy people. It's I don't know, but I'll be honest with you. You know, they say that the most common toxic behavior of parenting is when a parent criticizes their child. That's right. Express self-wishes, complains about the difficulties of raising a child, make unhealthy comparisons, and make hurtful statements. You know, and these kind of statements and comments, they could seriously cause damage to a child down the road, damage to the social, psychological, and emotional growth. we don't want to do anything like that. This is for sure. So I'm here. I'm here today to tell you what we should do, what we can do, how we can do it, I guess. But just to give parents, just give parents a little glimpse of what might be happening. So as a parent, so my daughter just came in, and I was going to tell her there's some sushi in the refrigerator that I got her. So as a parent, you got to take care of your kids. And I rolled her. She's right behind me. I know she heard me. She's going to get that sushi. I don't know if she's going to say thank you, but she's going to get that sushi. Anyways, as a parent, you don't want to fat shame your child. You don't want to say you're fat. You don't want to say you're skinny, you're short. This can really psychologically and emotionally harm a child. And I'm not going to say we're all perfect, because there are times we just don't think. We just talk and do out of instinct. And maybe it's because that's the way we were growing up. I grew up, and I was skinny, but I was fat shamed. And it's too bad, because I don't even have a picture of myself with my shirt off. And it would have been cool to see what I look like with my shirt off. I say that every day. And now I see what I look like. I got a fat gut. I'm trying to lose it. But, don't sit there and, tell your kid they're fat or they're too skinny or they're too short. It's funny. I don't think anybody says you're too tall. Although when I was growing up, somebody said, you're too tall to join the military. The beds aren't that big. I believed it, but I don't know if that's true. I'm going to have to look that up to see if there's any truth or relevance to that. Something else a parent shouldn't do to their child is say, why do you eat so much? Have you weighed yourself lately? And I'm going to be honest with you right now. These are mistakes I know I have made in the past. And had somebody told me this, it would have been better. They don't really have a whole lot of books on this, but in my opinion, as a parent, you should know a lot about this stuff. I mean, when you get your I'm on child number 5, and my youngest one is 18. I have 5 kids, and that's it. So, but my boys don't live with me, so I don't really know what they eat. Although yesterday, I'm gonna have to tell you, my son went to the track with me, and he was booking pretty good. He was running up and down that track like there was no tomorrow. Very sore today, but I made sure that when he went home, he had his meal, because he was saying he was a little bit hungry. So I said, okay, I'm going to get you something for today and tomorrow. So I know his mom just went shopping, but he wanted, boys. Boys, they want this junk food stuff. So I caved in. I caved in like Dad does. So now I've never said this to my kids or anything. When I was your age, I had a 21-inch waist, because I don't think I ever had a 21-inch waist. But again, dude, don't body shame. That's not good. That's that strikes that can trigger a kid. Trust me on this one. It can definitely trigger them. So I have girls, and you gotta be careful. I mean, with boys too, but maybe I'm just overprotective. I'm definitely old fashioned. But you don't want to say you could be pretty if you lost some weight. That's cold. That's nasty to say something like that. But I always try to say, hey, you're pretty on the inside. I don't know. Is that a good thing to say? Because they might be reading into it, and sometimes I guess people do. They're like, what are you saying? What are you saying? Are you saying something or trying to say something? Sometimes you're just saying just to say stuff, and sometimes people read stuff into it. But I'm sure a parent doesn't. A parent, they don't really want to hurt their kid by saying something mean that make them feel bad, do they? I mean, that's not being a parent. That's being a prick. That's being a jerk, dude. You don't want to do that, do you? So, if you're just joining us, I'm talking about toxic things, some toxic things you can say to your child, and you don't even realize it. So you heard it here first, so you don't make the same mistakes too, right? So now, here's a big one. And in the black community, there for some reason, that's a big thing on hair. Everybody's always talking about the hair. A lot of the women, you got good hair, you got bad hair, you got this hair, that hair. But definitely to your child, you don't want to say, "What's wrong with your hair? It's a mess." I remember my oldest daughter. She has curly hair, um, not not like super kinky hair, but it's definitely like curly. And when she was younger, she had a tough time taking care of it. So I tried to braid it up and brush it every night. I told her, I said, you definitely got to do this every night. You got to make sure you brush it, you roll it up, or you braid it. So when you get up, you can take it out. Blah 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 blah. But she didn't want to do it. She was very young though. I'm talking really young, probably about 10, 9 or 10. So her hair got really matted, and it got out of control. It got to the point where I had to take her to the hairdresser, and they had to just cut it all off. And I told her, I said, we don't want this to happen again. So, I took care of her hair, but then I also took her to my cousin, who's a hairdresser, so she could help her do her hair because my cousin's a hairdresser. She knows all about hair. And so after about a couple of years, my daughter said she thinks she can handle her hair now, and she does. She does up her hair, and she doesn't have a problem with it. She curls it, and she even dyes it sometimes, and it looks pretty cool. And I encourage kids to express themselves when they're young because definitely, guys, when you get old, when you get in that real world, you may get a job that doesn't allow you to express yourself. It's just the way it is. I know I did an internship at Disney, and at the time, I don't know how it is now, but at the time they didn't like tattoos all over you, visible and this and that, and all these rings in your ears and on your face. They said, if you want that, there's another theme park down the street. They'll accept you, but in not so many words. But yeah, I always encourage my kids. I try to tell them to express yourselves now, because when you get older, you want to get a good job. You got to make sure that your job doesn't frown upon self-expression. I mean, let's face it. If you're president of the United States, do you think you'd have a future in politics if you had dreadlocks and tattoos all over your face? I don't think so. It'd be nice if people didn't judge you like that, but unfortunately, that is the world we live in. It's called reality, guys, reality check, and it's just the way it is, unfortunately. And so, you don't want to say what's wrong with your hair, basically. Getting back to that. And body shaming can have an adverse effect on emotional effects, including lowering a person's self-esteem, and the development of mental health struggles such as eating disorders, body image disturbance, body dysmorphic disorder, anxiety, and depression. And that's not good. That's not good. You don't want your kids to be affected by any of that stuff. So, it's just the way it is. Something else you don't want to do. You don't want to belittle your child. No, even as an adult who wants to be belittled. What kind of a sick person does that? That's disgusting. You don't belittle people. And, like, for example, you tell your kid, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Oh, my God, how many times have I heard that in a grocery store? A million. And I just look at them, look at the parent. I'm just shaking my head. Just shaking my head. I'm like, are you serious? Is this how you really talk to your child? Who in the world talks to your child like, well, somebody must have talked to you like that, right? Because I'll have to judge you by the friends you keep and what you say and all this stuff. No kid wants to hear something like that. I don't want to stop that crying. Or I'll give you something to cry about. What are you going to give me? Are you going to give me a lollipop, a Tootsie Roll, some gummy bears? What are you going to give me? What are you going to give me? Well, you know what they're probably talking about. That corporal punishment, old school. But, if a kid cries, the kid's going to cry. That's what kids do. You just got to figure out why they're crying. And if you're a parent, you should figure out how to stop it. Hey, these are your kids. You should know your kids. You should know what they're about, right? So what's the issue? What's the issue? One thing I've always said, you never want to tell your child you're such a disappointment. Dude, that'll sting. That will sting, and I don't think they'll like that. And they don't want to hear you can't do anything right. Because the bottom line is, in life, you're going to make mistakes. And it's not about being right. It's about having an experience, having a learning experience. So, don't touch the stove, honey. They put their hand on the stove. You don't say, that's the stupidest thing you did. I'm disappointed. No, you say, and that's why, honey, we don't put our hands on the stove. Now, let me see your hand and let me try to take care of it. Hopefully, it's not that bad. The kids, like I said in my previous podcast, kids need reassurance. They need to know you're going to be there. And they need to know that you're not going to criticize them or belittle them like this. This is ridiculous. Hurtful, something really hurtful would be if a parent says, no one will ever, ever love you. Dude, that's cold. Who would say something? That's an evil thing. That's an evil parent. That's like something out of Cinderella, And I don't remember. Man, I don't remember a whole lot about Cinderella. There's so many versions of it. It's hard to keep up. But yeah, that sounds like something. Wow, that's cold. Never tell your kid. This is something that's toxic. Never tell your kid you will amount to nothing. Nothing. Because the bottom line is they just may surprise you. I remember hearing the story of Steve Jobs. I guess Steve Jobs has a sister. And something happened. I don't know the whole story, but something to do with his father. I think his father, he was abandoned by his father or something. And later on, Steve Jobs became successful, and he had seen he's seen his son, but I don't think he ever had a relationship with his dad. So you have some childhood trauma like that. It can be hurtful. I think the sister had a relationship with the father, but I don't think he did. There's a lot of pain there, and a lot of that pain can't be healed. Those are scars that people carry with them throughout their lives. And that's why it's very important. Try not to be toxic. Try not to be. That's horrible. And you never tell your kid you deserve nothing in life, because everybody deserves something. Who are you to say they don't deserve anything? Maybe you don't deserve something. The other toxic things is, I wish I never had kids. My God, why would you say that to a child? And people do say it. I mean, let's face it, there are people, how many people are in the world? Billions and billions? You're going to tell me, no, not one person ever said something like that? It's horrible. Horrible. I wish I never had kids. Maybe somebody should say that to their parents. I wish you never had that kid. Because that's a hurtful thing. You don't say that to somebody. Come on, seriously? What are you, nuts? Or the companion quote is, I wish you were never born. Who would say that? Oh my God. I'm looking at this though. I'm like, what? No, you don't. That's insane. That's insane. You don't say stuff like that. That's cuckoo. Maybe you shouldn't be a parent if you're going to say something like that. I mean, I would think if you're a parent, you would have ahead of time, you'd be thinking, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to say to my child, and I want to make sure they grow up like this, and blah, blah, blah. Now, my oldest daughter, she has a baby, so she's convinced she's going to be the best parent in the world. And, hopefully she is, but there are going to be rough patches, and the road's going to be rocky. There's a poem by Robert Frost. I don't know the whole thing, but it goes something like, two roads diverged in a wood, and having traveled both, I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. So some people can have it easy in life, but you don't learn nothing. But the ones who travel the rough road, they see a lot. They have a lot of bruises. They fall. It's a tough life, but it's a rewarding life. And I think my oldest daughter soon will realize it's rewarding having a child in all the ups and the downs. Nothing's going to be perfect. If it was perfect, I don't know what to say. I've never seen a perfect life for anybody. But you always have ups and downs, and you're always going to have to deal with situations. And I hope when she deals with it, she can handle it, Because everybody should handle something like that. So I just want to say, these are just some of the things that are toxic because you don't want to say, like you're nothing but a burden to us. Who would say, your kid would probably commit suicide or something, and that's not good, because who would be the blame? You'd be the blame for saying something as nasty and ugly as that. Is disgusting. You don't say stuff like that. But, like I was saying, I was trying to get to it. It's going to bring us to the end of our show. I don't want to keep you. You guys might have stuff to do, or you might want to listen to another podcast of mine. I have plenty of them, and you can download them any time of the day, morning, noon, or night. But before I say that, I want to thank you for listening. It's been great, and don't forget to be nice and talk nice to everyone you see. It's free. Don't be a jerk. Nobody wants to be a jerk, do they? And remember this one last bit of advice. Tomorrow is never promised. So don't go to bed angry at your child or anyone you love. And before you go to bed tonight, hug your child and tell them, I will love you forever, Dad. Hey guys, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time here. So be well and be kind. Peace. Bye.